Donald Trump is betting and hoping that we lose in the midterms because then the Congress could start impeachment processes on Joe Biden for whatever they decide to impeach him on.
Right. They will. If they take the House, it will a couple, depending on how much they take the House by, would a couple of them refuse to do it? Probably not, maybe, I don't know. But if they take a majority, you can bet the person who's going to be running the House is not going to be what's his face from California, McCarthy. It's going to be your favorite Marjorie Taylor Greene. The only way that McCarthy will be allowed to be speaker will be if he's just the face. The way when Tom DeLay was the real evil, they allowed Denny Hastert to be the speaker for a while. Of course, then it turned out Denny Hastert was the real evil. We didn't know what that guy was doing, molesting wrestlers, but because Denny Hastert put on this sort of nice old guy face, and so whereas Tom DeLay was this mean SOB that everybody hated. The only way they'll let Kevin McCarthy do it is if they're calling the shots behind the scenes, which means they'll have to impeach Biden. Doesn't matter what the reason is. They'll have to hold a vote. And the only question will be, how much of a majority do they have? Can they hold everybody on that vote? And will every single one of them be cowards and willing to do it? And I wouldn't bet on any one of them having the strength to do anything. I mean, I'll admit there were a couple that surprised me. Some of the ones in the House that voted for Trump's impeachment, some of the ones in the Senate who voted for Trump to be convicted, but there haven't been very many profiles in courage. So you can bet those impeachment proceedings will start. The January 6th committee will stop. That's what we're looking at. I mean, we have to take the House. We have to, and we have to or hold it. I should say. I'd love to add to our margin, but we have to, at the very least, even if it's by one vote.
How is it looking though?
Incredibly. The problem is 60, 90, whatever days in politics is a lifetime. But a hell of a lot better than was looking a month ago. Biden is up 7 or 8 points in the polls. Finally, people are feeling the positives of all the economic bills and things he did in past, mostly with only Democratic support. The only one the Republicans supported was the infrastructure bill, and that created a lot of jobs. But the Inflation Reduction Bill, the fact that he got a hold of COVID and put money out there with that COVID bill that no Republicans voted for when he first came in, got people shots in arms so people could go back to work, and everything, the child tax credit, which helped people. What he just did, cutting prescription drug prices in half. I mean, I got to tell you, as somebody who worked a lot on Washington and on Washington stuff for 20 years now, more, that was one of the biggest things we could never accomplish. We tried that so many times, which was to allow Medicare to bulk negotiate drug prices. And it was criminal that they wouldn't allow that. I mean, it was like saying, John, you can't go buy this beer that you want. You got to go buy that. I mean, it was literally like to tell people they weren't allowed to use the democratic process and the capitalistic process of negotiation. It was ridiculous. And finally, we got it done. I mean, for seniors, what that means in the end, with the power that Medicare has that's what all these European countries do. That's what the Veterans Administration does. They're going to have the power to negotiate down the price of a lot of these drugs by 40%. So seniors are going to feel it, right? We made sure that the bottom corporate tax rate is 15%. No more Amazon or, whoever the hell, Hobby Lobby, religious nuts paying like a negative tax rate. They have to pay at least a 15% tax rate and hopefully somewhat more, but at least there's a bot. So many good things were done, right? And people saw that, and then they've seen the crazy overturning Roe versus Wade. Only 8 Republicans in the House, or 10, 8-10, voted to say that they would fight a ban on birth control. I mean, that's crazy.
Cliff, they voted no on the VA bill,
right?
And then pumped fists. Bump fists.
It took Jon Stewart to go in there and get and shame them and get public attention on it. So they had to do it. They say they're all about jobs, and they voted against the CHIPS bill that was all about rebuilding manufacturing here.
But see that, and you know what? I was watching the news last night, right? And they were playing a clip of the new prime minister in England. And she was saying, gas prices are high because of the war in Ukraine. And you know, that's why gas prices, that and COVID, that's what happened with gas prices.
Exactly.
Now, granted,
supply lines disrupted. Yeah.
well, yeah, and under Trump, it's supply and demand. Everyone's, you know, there's a pandemic, nobody's driving, no one's buying gas, so the prices come down. That's just the normal supply and demand. You take economics 101 in college, they'll tell you that.
Of course.
But now the prime minister in England admits that these gas prices are high because of the war in Ukraine. I had a right-wing loon at one of the watering holes that I hang out with sit there and tell me that well, it's all because, you know, Biden. And I go, no, it's not. It's the pandemic, and it's also with the war in Ukraine. How is the war in Ukraine? I said, well, you know that Russia is the third largest oil supplier in the world, right? No, they're not. Yes, they are, dummy.
Well,
But
also,
these people,
you know,
they don't want to do research, Cliff.
no, well, they don't care. They get told what to believe by their own people. But I mean, the easiest response is you're like, wow, Joe Biden must be all powerful because the prices are really high in France and the United Kingdom and Sweden and Italy. How is it that it's all Joe Biden's fault? Why is it so the prices for gas so high in all these other places? Now, the truth is, as you know, is that they're still a little bit high, but they've been coming way down. They've been on a downward trajectory because they've been doing what they can to get supply lines up and running in a better way again, and taking various other measures to bring in supplies from other countries. And so it's getting better again, you know. And there were some of these guys that were gouging, you know, and they shamed them apparently into gouging a little bit less. So I mean, even that's gotten better. Inflation is
I hear that it's finally under $3 in you know, like, you know, the country's average. So it's like, Cliff, this is the stuff that I'm hoping that we run into in the midterms. Like, if gas prices are down,
yeah,
at the same time that they're banning abortions and suppressing the votes against people of color, it could be the perfect storm for us.
Well, you've seen it. I mean, how does Sarah Palin lose in Alaska?
I know.
I mean, obviously she's very unlikable, but her people like her. You know, I mean, that's a red state. She should have won that seat, New York 19, a lean red seat. They should have won. We won in Kansas, for fuck's sake. I mean, you know, like the place voted for Trump by 15 points, and their bill to ban abortion lost by 18. That is a 33-point swing. I mean, I'm just saying, like, you know, like they're losing big in these places. There was an article in one of the newspapers, I think the Washington Post, all about how Republicans thought this was going to be a big election for them. And they can't believe how much they're getting destroyed among women, like destroyed. Yep. So, yeah, I mean, look, nothing is guaranteed. And I don't want anybody to get overconfident. Everybody needs to, you know, if you've got the money to do it, donate to your candidates that you like and who can win. You know, if you can go knock on doors, do it, make phone calls for them, do it, do whatever the hell you can do. Do this. If you can, you know, if you've got a YouTube, I don't care. If you have 500, 5,000, 500,000 followers, get out there and tell them the kinds of stuff that we're saying. But right now, all of those positive economic trends and stuff with bills that Biden passed are why he's now at about 45, 46% approval rating, inching up towards 50 again. And it's all the reason why that people are horrified. Donald Trump and his espionage and stealing documents and inciting a coup, and the right-wing crazy Supreme Court banning abortion. I mean, you see all of this stuff going on together, and this doesn't look like a normal midterm right now, because normally a midterm, people will say, is a referendum on the incumbent president, and generally it is. But when the other guy never went away and keeps acting like a jackass and keeps, you know, breaking the law, and his Supreme Court does what they did, it's a referendum on them.